The Art of Being Assertive, featuring legacy producer and director, Molly Neese.
Actually, an amazing story is I volunteered and was on the advisory board for the Free Institute, and there was a gentleman there named Bob. And Bob got to know me a little bit, and he's like, "Molly, you're such an old soul." And to be quite honest, I had to Google that when I got back to figure out what that old soul was. You know, it's all good. It was good stuff. It's kind of like being older, beyond your age kind of stuff. But anyhow, what he did was connected me to a person, Stephen Smolinski. He had written 2 books. He has 5 companies. And he's a consultant and travels all over the world. He's a Wharton professor and is doing great projects in Africa. I'm like, well, this sounds like a fun guy now. I have no connection. What the heck am I going to do for him? Well, I ended up making one of his books into a training program. And you know what? It just happens to now be moved forward to a very large financial institution that is now going to be licensed. You just don't know. Do work for free, folks. My father always is asking, what are you getting paid for that? What are you getting paid for that? Nothing, nothing, nothing. I'm getting my reward. I'm living my legacy. I'm being assertive. Because it all comes back. It all comes back. So who's in your legacy dream team? What do you think I mean by that? Legacy dream team. That's one of the strategies to assertiveness. Do you think I just found my assertiveness just by myself hanging out? What do you think, Jen?
People who support you.
People who support you. Okay, so
And
support.
Like, foster like your assertiveness.
Foster your assertive. Oh, I like that. That's exactly right. They see what's inside of you, and they see stuff inside of you you don't even see yet.
Yeah. Like I got that.
Yeah, absolutely. There are people out there, and there are people out there wanting to help you through that. So the dream team are the people who are going to foster you, help you live your legacy, and connect you to people. This Steve Smolinski, I started another company. Oh, another wise man, one of my dream team members said, "Molly, no worries, just start up a bunch of companies. Some work, some don't, you just go for it." I'm like, okay. So I replaced him for my dad, and he probably appreciated that, right? But his mentality, that is. You know, it's kind of like, just put it out there. So I started another company called Legacy Producers, because what is my passion? I want to help others live to the nth degree, to find who they are. That's my passion, that's my value system. So I started up this company. Well, it evolved into what's called the Last Sermon Project as well. And the Last Sermon Project was inspired by David Posh. Have you ever heard of The Last Lecture? How many of you have ever seen the movie or read the book or on YouTube? I was inspired to, you know what? That is the reason why Legacy Producers was born. And I was telling Steve Smolinski, part of my dream team, about all this. And I told him about the Last Sermon Project. I'm going to bring it into churches and help people give their last sermon. If this was their last sermon they had ever had to give, what kind of lessons would they share? So not only do I do it with Legacy Producers, I do it with Last Sermon Project. Well, Steve said back to me, he said, you know what, this is good enough for Jeffrey to know about. I'm like, Jeffrey who? Again, dream team, they have connections. Most of them. Guess what? It's Jeffrey Zaslow, the co-author of The Last Lecture. Wow! So he reached out to him and said, Jeffrey, and he showed me what he sent to the author, and he's a Wall Street journalist as well, just so happens to be a senior editor. And so I'm going to be speaking with him next week. Wow! Little old Molly doing great things. You put the little old on it. I'm assertive Molly. All of you are assertive women. You just need to find it, discover it, and foster it, and grow it, and find your legacy dream team. Your legacy dream team is what's going to really take you over the top and help you find those that it's okay to be assertive. And because some people are going to say, you're aggressive, you're aggressive. There's some people who have called me aggressive. What types of people do you think have called me aggressive? What kind of personality traits might they have? Insecurity, what else? Jealousy, what else? Intimidated. You know, you have to understand that that is one perspective. That is one person. If you don't adapt your style, and if you don't clear the mental clutter, and if you don't do all these champion things, you might very well be aggressive. But you need to discover that. You need to have that self-awareness. You need to be keeping yourself in check and surrounding yourself by the Legacy Dream Team. Because if you have too many of those, what are those, lost souls, and some of those other folks, lost souls are great to have in your circle, as long as you try to help them and they show signs of moving forward. I had to get rid of some of the lost souls because I knew they were going to continue to keep me lost. So I challenge you to look at who you spend the most time with and who you want to add into that circle, because that Legacy Dream Team is what's going to take you to the next level. So on your table, you're going to find questions, because I gave you something to think about. I shared with you my story, but now I want you to explore on your story. You have mentors or table captains at your table. I encourage you to see if you want to add them to your dream team. Every time you come back to one of these events, add someone to your dream team. Because you know what? The more people you have, the better it is. Because I call on one person for this part of my life, I call on another person for another part of my life. Find out who you want. Every time you come here, you're going to add a member of your dream team. So look through some of these questions, and I challenge you, I'm going to leave you with this, that I want all of you to reach out to the person at your table and establish a time where you want to follow up and go through some of these questions. Because these questions, how to become self-aware, discover your legacy dream team, live a legacy of assertiveness, all these questions that you go through will actually help you in that self-discovery so that you can continue to live your legacy, not only of assertiveness, but happiness and fulfillment. So thank you all very, very much, and I hope you learned a lot. But if you have any questions, do any of you, I mean, I gave you a lot of my history, but do you have any questions? We have a little bit of time to entertain any questions you may have.